You're still live here on 3FM Sunrise on 3FM 92.7. We're about to get into Womanpreneur this morning. It is a glorious Tuesday morning. And as always, we're celebrating women in business. African women do so much for the continent in terms of business. In fact, 58% of business owners across the continent are women. So today we're expanding our tentacles a little bit. We're still staying on the African continent. This time let's take you to Ethiopia, if you will. We're giving it an international flavor. But my guest for this morning for Womanpreneur is Tyobista Girma. Tayo for short, she said. Tayo, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing very well. It's nice to meet you. Good to have you in studio. So you are Ethiopian. That's where you're from?
Yes.
Okay.
I was born and raised in Ethiopia.
Born and raised in Ethiopia?
Yes.
And then we can hear by way of accent that there's some U.S. influence in there.
Yes. I went to the U.S. after high school and then went to college, grad school in the States, and I've been there since then.
I see. And now you're a business owner as well. What language? I know there must be many languages that are spoken in Ethiopia. What language do you speak?
Amharic.
Amharic.
Yes.
How do you say hello, good morning in Amharic?
Dena darachunkan.
Hey. Tayo, this one is a bit slowly for me.
If it's for a lot of people, group of people, you could say Dena Darachu.
Dena Darachu?
Yeah, okay. You got it.
Okay. And if it's like a one-on-one?
If it's for a girl, you can say Dena Dersh. That's good morning. But the easiest way to greet is just like Salam. We just say Salam.
Salam.
Yeah.
Salam.
That's easier. That you could say any time of the day. It's just a formal, simpler way of
saying greeting. Hello. Okay, yes. And I can say that to you any time of the day.
Anytime for anyone. Versus
anytime.
If there's a good morning, good afternoon, I would have to teach you how to say it to a girl, a guy, an older person.
We'll stick with salam then.
Yes.
Much easier. Well, what brings you to this part of Africa, West Africa?
So the first time I came to Ghana was like in 2013, 14. I was in college and I had an internship in Bolgatanga.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And then a friend of mine was studying abroad in Accra. And then I decided to just, visit after Bolgatanga internship. I decided to visit Accra and then I loved it. And after that, I've been coming since then. And my 9 to 5 is remote. So I like to just come visit for a little bit and work remotely and then go back. Maybe potentially move here one day. We'll see.
Oh, is there a special somebody that is keeping you in the vicinity? That's usually why women pack up and move.
No, I've always wanted to live in the continent. A lot of my friends and I, we all went to college in the States, but after that, everybody wants to go back home. And home doesn't always necessarily have to be Ethiopia. I think the continent as a whole feels like home. I know since 2019, everybody got their eye on Accra, but
yes.
I've had my eye on it since a long time ago. And I just love it here. I love the people, the food, and the energy. Everything feels like home.
That's amazing, and also very interesting that you say returning home for you is the entire continent.
Yes.
And there's so much to choose from. That's amazing. Some of us also want to make our exit. Wow. So those of you that are making your entrance, that's fine. We'll make room for all of you, as many people want to migrate out, and I'm sure you can relate to that, because Africa, yes, is home, but it's not the easiest continent to live on or live in, to thrive and all of that. But we could talk about Africa and her problems all day. Let's get back to the business. This is, of course, Womanpreneur. So we're talking to Tayo about her own unique business and her experiences as a woman in business. So tell us about your business, what it's called. I know you are a co-founder, so there's someone else involved.
Yeah.
And what it is that you do when you started. Give us an overview.
Okay, so our business is called Kaba Baby. Right now it's a children's clothing line, but it's just more than a clothes. A lot of people ask us, oh, it's a kids' clothes brand, but we like to say that it's actually more than that. It has a lot of storytelling pieces. It had a lot of purposes and missions that we see it as something like bigger, just that, dressing your kids with just some piece of clothes. The other co-founder, her name is Rowena Kahasai, and she's also my childhood friend. We both went to the same school since we were 5 to grade 12. We both went to college together, and we've been together in Philly since then. So the way that Kaba Baby came up with, we've both have always wanted to own our own business. 9 to 5 is great, but ultimately,
you want to be your own boss.
You want to be your own boss. You can't work for for someone else the rest of your life. It's like sometimes for the 9 to 5 that I have, I always think about, so every day I'm waking up trying to make our CEO's dream come true. So we've always, talked about different businesses, and she was pregnant with our first child, and we were talking, we were both based in Philadelphia. We're like, what are we going to do? It's a girl, how are we going to decorate her place? What kind of things we're going to get for her? And we kind of started to notice that there's not a lot of children products in the state that have a lot of cartoons or images that have black or brown cartoons. And so it was just a joke or a simple conversation on the phone where we're like, what if we printed maybe some Ethiopian influenced or African American influenced type of people and their cartoons, and decorate her room and maybe print some clothes for her. And then we started thinking this will actually be a great business. Why don't we do it? That's kind of how it originally started.
Interestingly, and I know that in Ethiopia, Kaba is also a type of attire. So we have it in our part of the world, in West Africa and Ghana. You have the Kaba in slits, and you were showing me before we went on air, the Kaba in Ethiopia is also a type of dress. It's for royals, you say.
So back in the day, our kings and queens used to wear this kind of a regal robe. It's very it's velvet. It has gold designs on it. It's very, very, very regal, royal, very classy. Nowadays, we still wear it a lot of times for weddings and special events. People wear it. So we were thinking, we wanted to bring our Ethiopian roots to the name, but also to say that our brand is so, quality, royal, regal. Your kids are going to be, covered in this top quality material that they will feel like they're kings and queens. So it's kind of what we were thinking of when we named the Kaba Baby.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
We were also thinking that it was the West African roots, but we'll take it. It's from the continent. A Kaba is a Kaba. But you talk about, not wanting to wake up every morning just to help someone else build their dreams. But, entrepreneurship in of itself is also hard work. So for some people, they'd much rather, you have the 9 to 5, because with that, you don't have to think about where you're going to get extra capital to inject in the business. If things go wrong, you don't have sleepless nights. You can move on to the next venture. So being a boss in of itself is hard work. What are some of the difficulties that you have faced as a woman in business, and in particular as an African woman in business?
I think everything probably has a challenge, but when it's something that you own and when it's for yourself, I think there's some joy that even comes with all the challenge and you're trying to figure out when it versus you're obviously, I still love my job and I want to perform well at work, but then when you're working for yourself, and then when you see the actual outcomes of your efforts, that I remember the first time that we've seen our actual product, the samples came, it just feels so unreal. And every step of the way that we've done this so far, every little thing is an experience. And so sometimes the challenge don't even feel like a challenge. But in terms of the challenge, both Rowena and I don't necessarily have other businesses that we've done. She wears multiple hands. She has her 9 to 5, but also does real estate. She has a lot going on. She's a mom of 2 now. But we both never had experience of retail, e-commerce, or any of these things. So everything is a learning experience. When it comes to retail, for example, you just place an order for what you think is great. But then again, you're nobody ever prepares you saying this colors are better, this cartoon will do well, or manufacturing here is better than this other one. So every step of the way we're trying to figure out. And also in terms of capital, the initial cost of starting the business has been from from, we did it ourselves.
I was going to ask about that because I ask each of my womenpreneurs when we have the segment, starting capital, what did you do? Did you take it from your savings? Did you go to a bank? How did you get things off the ground?
We did it ourselves. We bootstrapped it. But then again, at some point you start realizing, especially until the business takes off, that you do need additional stream of income. Like either you have to continue, using your own money to grow the business, or you're going to have to look for investment elsewhere, and which is where we're at right now, because there's just like, I think we also like, part of the challenge is like you don't know where to spend your money at first, and I feel like we spent it all in making the product perfect, top tier. It's like organic cotton, it's super like quality material, the packaging, we thought about every single step, but like you spend all your money on there and then you have this perfect product, but then it's like, okay, now marketing, how am I gonna market it? But then you finished your money in producing that.
So that's a top tip now for womenpreneurs, for budding womenpreneurs that are listening to us. I think Tayo has some great gems this morning. So you might want to have, or you, of course, you want the best product, but you also have to think about, well, now that I've done the product, I need funds to do other things. So you say marketing and the rest. What is the biggest lesson that you've learned in business? And how long has Kaba Baby been in existence?
About 1.5, 2 years officially.
What's the biggest lesson that you would say you've learned?
Biggest lesson, honestly, what I just said. I think like we thought like the product to the T, but we didn't know once we have this perfect product, we didn't have like a proper strategy on how are we gonna reach those audience, how are we actually gonna sell. Like we made the website perfect, we thought about everything else except like how are we gonna reach that audience. Sometimes I think maybe, I don't know if it's because you really believe in your product, you think it's gonna take off, especially on in the days of social media. You see other brands that are going viral or whatever, and especially when there is a high need and there is a lack of that type of product, which is, for example, in the state, there's not that many companies that do product like we're doing. So we thought like someone is gonna see it and it's just gonna go viral, it's gonna take off, and that's not the reality.
That's not the reality. And I think that's a good point also when you talk about social media. And like you say, sometimes somebody starts something off and they get a lucky break, quick break, they're viral. You see that they're thriving. That means that they're getting more Lucci in the pocket. And as a business owner, that can either inspire you or then maybe even deflate you, because you think, well, I have this awesome product. When is it going to be my turn? But time check, it is some 5 minutes to the top of the hour, 5 minutes until we're wrapping up on this segment and wrapping up on 3FM Sunrise. This is the Womanpreneur segment, and we're still getting a few gems and tips from Tayo, owner of Kaba Baby, before we say goodbye. So what about the days when sales are really low? How do you pick yourself up? What do you do to ensure that you have the vim, the energy, the passion to keep going?
One, I think like we always try to remember why we started it. So our cartoons are not just like even regular cartoons. Like they have a story. Each cartoon has a story and a person that inspired that story. So initially when we were talking about making these cartoons, we're like, oh, let's do like a Martin Luther King type of cartoon or Rosa Parks. But then we're like, oftentimes, and even when it's Black History Month in the US, there's very few Black people that their name kind of come up in different news or anything. So we're like, but there's so many Black and brown people that have contributed to our day-to-day that we really don't know about.
That's right.
So we started to focus actually for those, like, for example, our modern day traffic light has been invented by Garrett Morgan, who was a Black guy. And
I see.
Yeah, and none of us know that.
Every day. What was his name again?
Garrett Morgan.
Morgan.
One of our cartoons is inspired by Garrett Morgan. So
amazing.
Just there's so many people. We have a tennis cartoon. Everybody thinks it's Serena Williams, but it's Alethea Gibson, another Black woman who was a tennis champion before Serena Williams. So the purpose is always to tell those stories. So every time we sometimes it feels like sales are not going well, we try to remember like the reason we're doing it is to uplift the stories of these people. Eventually, when we get a bigger line, we want to do like a Ghanaian person that we might want to feature as a cartoon.
Yes,
and
you'll get your Helen Apia Ampo for Kaba Baby piece.
it's all about telling stories of every, you know, black and brown people that contribute to our day-to-day and different ways. And then as a kid, especially, you know, in the States, you know, like people really need, like kids really need to see, I can be that person too. So you see a cartoon of the scientist and you can be like, you can start imagining and thinking that you can do the same. So we try to remember our purpose and mission, and sometimes it's hard, you know.
And that's the truth. Entrepreneurship is hard. But Tayo says, remember why you started, and if you have a solid foundation, a good purpose, that will see you through. But before we say goodbye, plug the socials. I'm sure many of us want to see what the line looks like. We want to hear about some of the incredible stories of the characters that you put on the product. So plug the Instagram, the website, all of it.
Okay, so website is kabababy.com, K-A-B-A baby.com, and then on all social media, shop kabababy.com.
Shop Kaba Baby. So we can find that on Facebook, on Instagram, on all of the socials. So check out Instagram, go give them a follow, shop Kaba Baby, and you know, get some education as well. All the characters have a story, and it's great representation for Africans all over the world and in the US, and I'm sure you're looking to expand as well. Well, how long are you in Accra for this time round?
A couple more weeks.
Couple more weeks. Yes. Okay, but this is like your second home anyway, so you'll be in and out.
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
And then hopefully collaborate with some Ghanaian women also doing stuff like this. That could be quite interesting. Maybe some specialized lines for some special occasions. That could be quite good.
I would love that, and I would love to, like, you know, also bring the items and try maybe to sell it here as well and bring it.
Well, in fact, we'll see if your visit tallies with baby fair that is up and coming. I think that would be a great opportunity to introduce prospective moms and new moms and old moms and all the moms to the product. So we'll speak after this, but we do have to say goodbye now.
Thank you so much.
A few seconds. You're welcome to the top of the hour, 10 a.m. We've been speaking with Tyobista Girma. She's the co-founder of Kaba Baby. It's been very eye-opening. I'm sure you've learned a thing or two as well. Remember, Womanpreneur comes your way each and every Tuesday from 9:30 a.m. But we'll park it here today for 3FM Sunrise. Make way for the news at 10. Crosby's here poised and ready. It's been an incredible morning. As always, thank you so much for starting your day with us. My name is Helen Apia Ampofo. On behalf of the rest of the team, do have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.
Womenpreneur on Sunrise.